towards the possibilities of peace, towards the Soviet Union, towards the course of the Cold War.
Art muscle. It was a way of making me feel that they were a part of me.
You see it on the bridge. Wait, how they get it on? If the government had to change the screw in the bridge, they had to shut it down. They got state troopers out there. They got lanes closed. They got their strange machines. How did they get up there?
Yo, 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 yo. What's up? What's up? What's up? Peace, blessings, glory, praise, and honor to the Most High. Shout out to my poets, writers, content creators. Shout outs to Chef in the building. Shout outs to the entire panel. I hope you're doing good. I hope you're getting through this week as swimmingly as possible. You know what day it is. I was juggling between one topic and another. I pushed the other one back. I'm going to handle that one tomorrow, me and Sava. I see you over there on IG, sir. Salutes to you. Salutes to you. The project is on the way. I'm about to get right back to it. Dragon's Eyes will return. Evelyn's Abomination will return. I'm currently, let me just go ahead and put that out here right now. I am currently looking for voice actors. I'm trying to get my cast together right now as we speak. It might take me a little time, but see, I gotta make sure I got the right people. I had too much going on the last time, so I never really got to get that out the way that I wanted to. That's why production just stopped. And I'm glad it went that way. Because this time, when we lock in, it's going to be official. It's not going to be on the YouTube channel that I'm using now. I have a whole new one. That one is specific for my skits, for my short stories, any projects that I do with you or anybody in the future. It's all going to be for the art, all for the love of the art. So I will keep you in all type of communication in terms of what I'm doing with that. Tonight is Sydney's segment. I'm waiting on her to pull up. There's like this thing going on with StreamYard right now. Apparently, everybody is on it. So much so that people are having a hard time logging in. You know, so I sent her the link out. I'm waiting for her to pull up. But in the meantime, in between time, I hope everybody is doing well. I hope you're feeling awesome. We here to build, uplift, all that good stuff. I've been working. I've been in the lab all day, on and off. I hear you, brother. I hear you. We'll definitely lock in. Because Evelyn's Abomination, the whole thing has been written. It's done. The problem was the traffic was coming in and out. It was too many inconsistencies. So when I started sending out scripts, either I wasn't hearing back from people, they just disappeared off the face of the earth, or like there was this weird communication problem. You know what I'm saying? And I just took it like, all right, I need to slow down a little bit. My mind was everywhere. I didn't have full concentration on it like I really wanted to. And it gets discouraging, you know what I'm saying? When you put your heart into something and then people are just kind of fickle, you know what I mean? Either way, Sydney, I see you in the studio. It's enough about me, you know. This is her segment. Y'all know what it is. You see the title. I'm going to turn it over to her. I'm going to let her do her thing. I give her a warm welcome. This is what we do over here on this side of the internet. We talk about things that matter. This is one of my favorite segments during the week. So I will see you guys a little later. Don't forget to hit me up if you need me. And yes, let's see what we got here. Sydney, the floor is yours.
Hello, my name's Sydney. I've been on this podcast for almost 2 years, and this is my science segment / I also talk about history sometimes. And today because we've kind of covered some of these topics earlier this week, I really wanted to talk about mental health issues linked to social media use. And also, I do have my little guy with me, so I apologize in advance if he decides to protest while I'm talking. But I'll do the best I can to keep him quiet during our discussion. So, I wanted to talk about this because it's a big problem that I think people are only starting to become aware of and only starting to do something about. For example, a lot of schools are starting to adopt low-tech or no-tech systems where students do not have access to their phones. They have reduced access to computers because a lot of teachers and parents are having issues, particularly with iPad kids and teenagers on their phones. They're becoming addicted. They're becoming dependent on them. And it's affecting their behavior. It affects their relationships. So there's a lot of impacts as a result of using technology too much, or in inappropriate circumstances, such as going to dinner with the family or in school, or maybe you're hanging out with other friends and every single one of them is on technology rather than playing with each other. If you've ever seen Toy Story 5, it's a good depiction of the type of behaviors that kids are showing with their technology. And it's borderline becoming an addiction for a lot of these kids where they cannot put this technology down. I've seen plenty of videos where people give their baby, like the age of my baby, or toddlers, their own iPads, their own phones, their own technology. And these kids have become so obsessed with the games or whatever they're doing on their phones that they have these massive temper tantrums when they are unable to use their devices, when they're taken away, when they're unable to, like if the internet dies, they ask Dad. They are not. Where was I going with this? They're not used to being on this off this technology, and a lot of these kids don't even know what to do with themselves once they are not using social media. So yeah, this is definitely a developing issue, especially now that it's affecting the younger generations. I think the millennials are really the last generation that was really taught moderation with technology. Particularly people born in the late 80s to 90s grew up in a time where the internet was used a lot more cautiously. People were more afraid of scams. It was the internet was less trustworthy. It was harder to verify the validity of the sales or whatever you're finding on the internet. Loads of conspiracy theories. So yeah, we have these current younger generations coming in addicted already, and it affects, as I said, their social skills. It affects their school success. It affects their interactions with their parents, and it affects their overall behavior and life outcomes. So I wanted to talk about the science behind what is happening to these kids. And frankly, adults. There's a lot of adults that also have the same addiction, including the elderly. I've heard a lot about older adults being overwhelmingly on Facebook. And they, again, are almost addicted to that. So, yeah. Regarding teenagers, I'm mostly going to talk about youth. I might mention the older generations, but I'm mostly specifically talking about young people because they're the ones that are going to be the next entering the world, and they're going to be entering the world socially behind and more focused on online pursuits than they are to pursue other types of pursuits. For example, a statistic that I heard a couple years ago, probably like 2 or 3 years ago, about 80 to 90% of teenagers today are interested in being a social media influencer. They're more interested in being a social media influencer than they are interested in being a teacher, being a inventor, or all kinds of. It's okay. He's been quite unhappy the last couple days, so I have to excuse him. But yeah, 9 out of 10 kids want to be social media influencers, even though right now the chances of you actually making money with social media are dropping quite significantly. Both Twitter, Facebook, YouTube and TikTok are notorious for like, oh, I'm a social media influencer, I'll get money, I'll do ads, whatnot. But it's becoming oversaturated. There's a lot of people that are trying to be social media influencers, that are trying to make money using internet accounts, and they're not really participating in the world when they have these accounts. Like, I think there's also a statistic out there that people are spending more time online on social media than they are in person, than they are in nature, than they are out and about. They also, slightly unrelated, but still kind of related, people are also overwhelmingly relying on DoorDash rather than going into stores. So we've become very, very dependent on social media. And as I said, it's affecting the way that we interact with each other and how we see the world. So far, there's an estimation that this is from a scientific article on PubMed Central, part of the National Library of Medicine. This is a research paper talking about the social media addiction that exists in society right now. And by their estimates, roughly 5 to 20% of teenagers are experiencing various degrees of social media addiction. They are, and when they engage with these platforms, some of the behaviors that you can kind of see is endless scrolling, the need to react to posts, direct messaging, but one of the big things is that endless scrolling. It's a essentially time-wasting activity that may or may not be providing accurate information as well. As we know, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or whatever it's called now, they all feature people that are truthful, and then they also feature people that are pretending to be certain things. We have a lot of scams that come from these, and then we also have a lot of people that are kind of like fishing for attention, fishing for money. We have a lot of social media influencers that are showing these unrealistic lives and are encouraging people to buy the life. They advertise for goods, for clothing, They even sometimes vouch for like locations that you can go to, places that you can live. But very, very frequently, it's products that you can buy. It's makeup and, as I said, clothing, jewelry, just random stuff. Um, but they are essentially using our attention to make money and putting on a show for us to make us think that that type of lifestyle is for everyone and is achievable by everyone, which is not true. A lot of people are matching their lives to what they see on the internet, even though it doesn't actually match their personality, their needs, their wants. They're just kind of going off what they see and manufacturing a life based on what famous people are doing. And this is particularly problematic for middle and high schoolers as well as college students to early 20s, because this is the time that you are creating your identity. You are getting to know which social circles you fit in. You're also starting to learn communication tactics and the social cues, the body language, tone, all that stuff, the more subliminal aspects of communication. This is the time that people are learning those things intensely, deeply, frequently. So being on social media prevents them from having this type of experience, and so they end up being behind. I definitely believe that the social media use the addiction to the internet, now the addiction to AI, and the inability to kind of think for yourself, looking up everything, having the internet tell you what to write, make up the papers for you. And this is particularly an issue because if you have people that are just kind of online all the time and not interacting socially, they're going to end up having problems down the line. Not only are they going to have issues in school, they're going to have issues making friends. They could potentially end up having issues at work because they don't know how to work with other people. They could potentially have issues in future romantic relationships, raising their children. There's a lot of impacts of social media addiction depending on the age that you're at and the stage of life that you're at in terms of like whether you're done with school, whether you're in a relationship, whether you're having kids. And most of it is kind of negative. While there are benefits of the internet, obviously you get to learn new things, you get to share and connect with people all around the world. It still affects our psychology. With teens specifically, the self-esteem aspect is an important role in their development. Self-esteem affects their self-identification. It affects the people they hang out with, or if they hang out with people, it affects the jobs that they pursue, the topics they pursue, or I should say degree type areas. And they also affect how they treat themselves. Low self-esteem typically results in behaviors that are not as friendly to the self. It can result in the worst case scenarios, self-harm, or even end of life for younger kids. I've heard of cases where children who were online bullied 10, 11, 12 took their lives because of the things that they were experiencing on social media platforms. People tend to forget that younger people, it's not until your early to mid 20s that you start to recognize that, number one, feelings are feelings. Like we have them, we experience them, but they end. They aren't end all be all. You're not going to be depressed for the rest of your life. And you also are you have the capacity to break through, handle it, create something good out of it. But younger kids have more of a all or nothing type of belief system where they don't really understand that this will end. A lot of them think that it's going to continue and that they have no other option but to remove themselves from the situation permanently. So it's really, really important, especially kids for low self-esteem, to have more in-person interactions instead of the internet. Because as I said a little bit earlier, the internet promotes a lot of things that affect people's psyche negatively. First of all, there's a lot of untruths. There's a lot of fear mongering. There's a lot of rage baiting, as we talked about earlier in the week. There's also the aspect of everyone is trying to sell you something. Some people are trying to scam you. Based on what I see on social media, you also get plagued by messages of like, donate to me, I'm sick, donate to this cause because XYZ. And not all of these organizations or people are reputable. It's just another way that some people can scam for more money. So you have to be really, really cautious about what you choose to do with your money on the internet. You need to verify that your store or person that you're donating to or organization actually does what they say they do. For example, there's a lot of environmental organizations that while they say they do certain things, most of their money goes to different areas that don't include fixing the environment or doing whatever they're doing. So there's a lot of stress in that sense where there's uncertainty. They can get themselves into situations that are potentially difficult, lose money, stuff like that. And then there's also that aspect of bullying and manipulation online. I've heard of many cases of children getting bullied by their peers. I've even heard of young children getting not bribed, what's the word? Kind of held for ransom, using like the kid sent this person explicit pictures of himself. He was only 11 or 12, and this person ended up using those photos against him and threatened to release those photos if he didn't give him money or whatever the threat was. So these are all experiences that can make the internet very daunting. But then also, social media is very time absorbing because of the way that they format these sites, the endless scrolling, such as on TikTok, such as on Facebook a little bit, or some of these other sites. It makes it so it's very, very easy to spend a lot of time without noticing that you are using those sites for that long. So teens can end up spending, if their parents aren't paying attention, they can end up spending the entire day, the entire night on their phones, in school as well as out of school. I've seen a lot of videos of teachers talking about the conditions of schools today, and they are seeing students not care at all about school. They're on their phones the whole time. They're playing games. There was a story that came out recently where there was a girl that in the time of her being in school, she watched 13,000 hours of YouTube during school hours. So a lot of these kids are given the liberty to teachers in a lot of areas have kind of given up, and they don't even want to challenge the use of technology in classrooms or out of classrooms, because one, school board. School board very often sides with adults or with the parents, because they don't want the parents to sue or complain. So if the school itself does something to discipline a child or take their phone away and the parents complain, that teacher is going to get in trouble. And so a lot of teachers have been allowing their students over time to use technology in the classroom. And I've seen some teachers talking about how they've completely given up and they basically just show movies in class because there's no other way to gain their attention. And that's another aspect of social media that is pretty detrimental, and it's affecting all age groups. I've seen this even in my own husband. He doesn't, for example, I watch a lot of documentaries, I watch a lot of long videos that are 45 minutes, an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours. But I know a lot of people that don't actually have the patience to watch videos like that. Most people I know limit themselves to like 2 to 5 minute videos, and some people even less. We see the same thing with kids, where their attention span is non-existent. They don't know how to spend time alone. They don't know how to spend time without their technology. They don't know how to just ponder life. And even adults have the same problem where we're always watching something, we're always listening to something, we're always on our phone. And I've seen a lot of parents that can't handle not having their phones on them. Like, we've probably all seen a friend or a parent or somebody freaking out because they don't have their phone. That is how much we are attached to it, where we can't handle not having it. And we're also so reliant on technology that we don't know how, like, there's a lot of basic skills that we don't have, such as mathematics, doing simple math problems. We don't have a lot of people that can do mental math in their head. I remember back when I was in elementary school, they insisted that we had to memorize the multiplication tables. We had to remember the division problems and stuff like that. Like, they encouraged us to memorize a lot of these, a lot of math. Also with words, like, they used to focus on expanding our vocabulary, knowing how to write, knowing how to put together paragraphs and essays. But now we see a lot of people that are highly dependent on their phone to the point that they can't do math on their own. They don't know their way around their own cities. I've heard of children that are coming to school that don't know how to spell their name. They don't know their address. They don't know much at all besides the technology they're using. It's also affecting their decision making, because if you're on the internet, you're technically not making decisions because the algorithm is choosing those videos for you unless you're explicitly looking up certain things. And even then, it'll still put the we believe this is the best result at the top. And so you may not see the source that is best for you. And additionally, people are losing the ability to differentiate between what's true and what is not true. We are inundated with all sorts of information, especially with the politics going on right now. And so there's a lot of information out there that is modified, not true, made up. And because we're kind of bombarded by it and we just see article after article all the time, a lot of people don't even pay attention. They just see the headline, they read some sentences, and they're like, this is how it is. and then they share it on social media and everyone else sees it. And so we're losing our ability to decipher the stuff that we see and decide whether or not that thing is actually true or not. So we have a lot of people that are believing conspiracy theories, facts that aren't true, and misinformation. So in that sense, it also is affecting our psychology by making it harder for us to actually consider what we're seeing and to kind of identify things that are false or not. It also is contributing to a like people are getting used to just looking it up right away, and they kind of accept the first answer that they see. But it affects people's memories because when you have the capacity to look things up all the time, your brain clues into this. Your brain sees that or detects that you can just look things up. You can just use technology to kind of get your answers, and you don't have to remember it because you can just look it up again. And so there's also been a decline in memory because we outsource that to our phones. We write lists on our phones. We use technology to look like dictionaries online to look things up and come up with new words that we've never heard of, but we don't remember them. And then also facts that are not true, or facts that are true. Like people aren't remembering things about how the earth works, how technology works, like all sorts of facts and information. People just are not aware of how how life actually is. Like I've met some people that didn't know some very basic information about stuff that was going on in the world. And I think this has to do with people's preoccupation with social media, because chances are most people are using social media to watch content that is amusing or angering rather than actually educational. Especially teenagers, they're going to be focused on videos, particularly for women, like makeup tutorials, showing off clothing hauls, talking about relationships, talking about showing off the house. And Nolly, bring that back. And we're also would be potentially looking up stuff about like how to be popular, how to be whatever, like instructional videos on how to be the persona that they want to be. So they're not, a lot of these kids aren't watching growth type videos, self-development type videos, and that focus on, for lack of a better term, vapid content. They're not developing their brains. They're not expanding their interests. They're not exposing themselves to things in the world. They're only basically exposing themselves to consumerism. Because if you think about it, obviously the shopping, showing off hauls, it's encouraging people to buy clothing. It also shows people with very unrealistic numbers of clothes, purses, makeup, you name it. There are people that obsessively collect it. Just look up like Pokemon rooms and stuff like that. Like people have hundreds of purses or stuffed animals or perfumes or soaps or whatever. And when they put up these videos, they're connecting people to those products, and very likely, if not almost always the case, are basically paying the influencers for showing off their hauls. And I've even heard rumors that when YouTubers do these hauls, sometimes they don't even keep the clothes that they bought. They just buy a whole bunch of stuff that they can show off and say that, like, I bought this at this store. You can find it here. They return it. They return all the stuff. So they're showing off all of these clothes and purses and perfumes and saying, hey, you guys should buy this. This is awesome. I love this brand. And in reality, they're getting money. They're trying to convince you. And in this world of enshittification, I don't know if you've heard that word before, but the idea that companies today, because of the price of goods, because of everything going on right now, the quality of basically everything is significantly declining, from houses to cars to clothing to technology, toys, you name it. Things are rapidly declining in quality, even, and getting more expensive at the same time. So oftentimes these social media influencers are promoting things that aren't even that great of quality. And these kids are exposed to all of this brand name selling and expensive products that aren't actually worth anything, and are convinced to buy these things based on values, even though stuff does not. One of my favorite phrases related to minimalism is, just because you have the object doesn't mean you'll have the habit. A lot of people buy objects hoping that it'll help them establish habits. We all can probably identify with during the beginning of the year, people are buying exercise equipment and buying all sorts of stuff to make over themselves. But by February, most of the stuff is just donated back because people aren't actually using them. And this is something that is increased because of social media, because when you use social media, you're exposed to way more things. If back when everyone was just doing in-person shopping, you'd peruse the aisles and whatnot, but they had specified stores. Like if you needed sports equipment, you'd go to a sports store. If you needed groceries, you'd go to the grocery store, toy store, you name it. But now you can find anything right at your fingertips. You can find things that are antique, that are vintage, that are brand new, that are trials. There's a lot of stuff out there too that are like, pay, pre-order this item. And yeah, so this is all to say that it is contributing to a massive shopping addiction that particularly in America we're struggling with, but it is also in other countries, particularly the ones that are first world well off. But as I said, it's creating a shopping addiction problem. And to add to it, it's causing a debt problem, especially with the younger generations, because there is a very prevalent feeling, especially with Gen Z and Alpha. They are not saving money at all because they're basically like, well, the world sucks. The world is ruined. We damaged the planet. We're being taken over by billionaires. So F it. I'm just going to buy whatever I want. I'm just going to spend every last dime I have and enjoy myself because life sucks. And it's really, really unfortunate that we have our youngest generations thinking that way. They don't care about doing better for themselves. They don't care about social media or socializing. They don't care about volunteering or going to work. Like, a lot of them are begrudgingly going to work. And that's probably also why so many kids want to be social media influencers because they're like, why do I want to work for this villainous company that's just going to steal half my paycheck, give me dismal pay, and treat me badly, make me come in for weird hours, we all kind of know the issues with employers taking advantage of people, not caring about us, not wanting to pay us what we're worth, not wanting to offer us health insurance, not wanting us to have lives. Basically, I've heard a lot of people that they wake up, they go to work, they go to their second job, and then they go to sleep. No socializing, no ability to like do things for yourself. And yeah, so we're seeing a lot of kids that have this sense of hopelessness, and then the internet does not help them, because on the internet, as I said, we have rage baiting and we have a lot of fear mongering. I know this myself because I look up these topics, but everywhere you go, you can find stories and discussions about how the world is ending, we destroyed the planet, we are making animals go extinct, and people are going homeless at record rates, and there aren't any jobs, and billionaires are taking over our country, and the certain people involved in our country, in our government, are terrible. There's a lot of things that are kind of affecting how our future generations are responding to their current existence. So yeah, with our youngest generations, they have had a decrease in their ability to they're not doing art, they're not doing songs or anything. Like, yeah. I'm sorry. Sorry, I'm a little bit sick, so tell Mama. Okay. 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 Oh. Okay. Oh my gosh. Oh, okay. Sorry. Okay. So with the sorry, I'm just a little bit oh my gosh. Sorry. Okay, so with the, let's see where I want to go next. Where was something else I wanted to look through? Okay. Another thing that they noticed was adolescents rely on social media. Glass Dad. Wait, that's mine. That's mine. Oh no, yeah, you can have one. One of them's mine. Glass Dad. So where'd I go? Where did you go? Okay. So teenagers' self-acceptance and development of healthy online behaviors depends on the relationship of their depends on the understanding of their relationships, and it kind of affects their conversation. They've noticed that peer pressure and social comparison works together to kind of create a vicious cycle where teenagers are motivated by a fear of it. Increased social media use is motivated by the need for approval and the fear of falling short of other peers. So they've been finding that the people that are using social media are creating their websites, their accounts that are needing approval and are basically promoting conversation. They're kind of my goodness. They're promoting conversations regarding the effects of social media in the hopes that teenagers will kind of deal with this issue more skillfully. But there's still a kind of like break or change in emotions regarding technology. And even the parents themselves sometimes are encouraging this type of exposure. Some parents have that issue themselves. They are addicted to their phones. I watched this one video might have been even like up to a year ago, but it was a bunch of young kids confronting their parents about their own social media use. And the one that really, really stood out to me was there was a mother with, I think her daughter was between 8 and 10, possibly a little bit younger. But the daughter was quite intelligent. She confronted her mother about her posting her on Facebook all the time and being more focused on the post on Facebook than the actual activity that they were doing. And she said that she confronted her mom about it, and her mom basically said, well, no, I'm not going to do anything because I need to take your pictures. I need to put your stuff up because it's important to me. And I forgot exactly what her reason was, but she basically was saying like, nope, I'm not going to change my ways. You are going to deal with I'm just going to post pictures. I don't really care what you think. And I thought that was really quite sad, especially the fact that the mother refused to listen to her child. There were some that did and were like, I didn't know you felt that way. Yes, I will reduce the amount I'm on social media. I'll reduce the amount that I post your pictures online. But that one particular woman basically was like, no, I'm not going to do anything different. And that's pretty unfortunate, because if you have parents that are addicted to this type of technology and they themselves don't know how to balance real life with online life, they are going to pass that down to their kids, or vice versa. They are going to disappoint their kids because they are not paying attention to their children. And maybe the children learns to despise this technology because they're upset that their parents don't spend time with them. I've even had this happen with my own kids at home, where I'll be on my phone and they'll basically say like, no phone, get off your phone, please. And I don't use, I kind of use the phone a lot, but I've been trying to reduce how much I spend online because of my kids. I want to make sure that I'm giving them my time, that I'm reading to them, that I'm hanging out with them, because people definitely don't realize just how important interacting with your children are. Kids who are not connected with their parents are more likely to turn to drugs. They're more likely to leave home. They're more likely to drop out of school. There's a lot of impacts where a child ends up growing apart from her parents. And then again, as I said, like some of the parents are doing the same thing to the kids as well. And we also, I know a lot of states and certain countries are starting to ban technology for certain ages, because right now we have kids that are as young as like 4, 5, 6 that are using social media. But this is problematic because not only are they more likely to click things and download things that are not safe, but they also are more distracted because they are paying more attention to the worlds that they have on both social media and in video games. It also can be an issue for boys and girls a lot. It focuses on girls a lot, but boys and girls do experience this of adults hitting on hitting on the kids. I've heard of stories of people pretending to be adults and talking to little kids, sending them pictures. I don't know if you have ever seen what's it called? The TV show where he goes into people's houses and catches pedophiles. I don't know if that word is going to be banned, but he would Chris Hansen. He'd go to people's houses who thought that they were who thought they were young kids, even though it was an adult just in disguise to catch them. But yeah, that is another issue that can arise. Kids can be deceived by adults and be tricked into meeting and doing adult things with them. There is also, what was I going to say? Oh, they also are kind of exposed to AI. Like they're using AI, and AI is also affecting how they think, how they behave. I heard a story in the last couple months of I think he was 11-year-old. I don't know if it was a boy or girl, but they committed suicide because AI told them to. AI told them how to tie a noose, and they basically were told by AI how to take their life, which is absolutely wild if you think about it. So yeah, it can be very dangerous for kids on social media, but oftentimes adults are not supervising their kids, and they're allowing these kids to be exposed to adult they're being exposed to adult topics, adult behavior, and just adults themselves that are willing to take advantage of other kids. My goodness. What's up? One story that I heard semi-recently, there was, what was it? I forgot what I was going to say. But yeah, we have kids that are unaware, like safety for the internet, like they're not tuned to it and kind of encouraged to I don't know, they're like exposed to all of these dangers on the internet, and I think a lot of parents don't pay attention. and are using the same things on their own. I went out to dinner a couple months ago, and while we were there was a family of 5. It was father, mother, 2 sons, and a daughter. And the daughter was on an iPad. Both the sons were on phones with headphones on, and the mother was on her phone, and the father was just sitting there at the table, just sitting there. And this is the type of stuff that we can see sometimes, where people are so heavily reliant on technology that they don't know how to interact with each other anymore. People don't know how to be off their phones. People don't know what to do without them. So it's pretty unfortunate that we have so many people who can't handle life without this technology. People can't navigate without it. People don't know how to communicate without it. People don't know how to entertain themselves without it. Most people aren't reading books anymore. So, yeah, we overall have really become maladjusted, I think. We're in this technological society, but we're allowing it to kind of take over us, our psyches, our social circles, and we're becoming more, how do I explain it? Like, we're dependent on the internet now. So we are, let me do this. So yeah, we have a lot of people that just don't know what to do without the technology, which is pretty unfortunate, because it really, it kind of reminds me of Idiocracy, where we have a lot of people that are just kind of on their devices all the time. They're not interacting with each other, and are honestly completely unaware of the world around them, besides the whatever drama stuff that they're watching and listening to on their phones, on their computers and stuff like that. So yeah, it is something that overwhelmingly I think adults are falling into, as well as children, which is not beneficial, especially when it affects everything else. It affects how people work. It affects school. It affects how people interact with each other, and it even affects traffic and car use, because if you are addicted to your phone, you're more likely to use your phone while you're driving. We've seen an increase in crashes of people when they're trying to use their phone, trying to text people, trying to go on the internet while they're driving their cars. I've seen lots of videos of people getting in car accidents because they were literally looking at Facebook while they were driving, which is crazy. I don't know why you do that. Like, I don't know why you can't just wait. But some people are so addicted, they don't have the capacity to wait for the internet to actually be used, and to do whatever they're trying to do on the internet. Another aspect too that is on the rise is identity theft, where people are buying stuff from websites all over the place, and some people are getting scammed. And then there's also a lot of areas on the internet where people are, where was I going with that? People who use the internet are not able to, are using it in like inopportune times. And it's affecting people at work as well, because a lot of people get bored at work. A lot of people don't care about their jobs at all, and so they end up using technology at work. They end up being less productive, and it really affects how people are able to interact with the world. And as I said earlier with the kids, the more you use technology, the more your social skills degrade. And the lack of community around you, the lack of going outside, it causes mental health problems. You're more likely to develop anxiety, depression, a personality issue. You're more likely to be a homebody. And again, if you are using social media a lot, you can end up attracting criminals, whether you're buying stuff from people that are stealing from you or like tricking you, scamming. And then you also have people that are putting up information about themselves that people are stealing, identity theft and stuff like that. And that itself can cause mental health problems, because the stress of dealing with your identity being stolen, your money being taken away, not knowing how to kind of handle the situation. So in a lot of ways, it encourages people to, it can cause people to be, what's the wording? They're, I don't know. People tend to either be really cautious online and be aware of what's going on, and then some people just let themselves not pay attention to these things. I've seen some videos of people talking about how they lost hundreds of dollars or thousands of dollars because they fell for stuff that they saw on the internet and it ended up being a scam. So technology and social media is a fantastic thing in one sense. You're able to stay connected with your friends and family, even if they're in other countries. You have quick access to information. You can research with it. You also have access to banking and paying bills, buying things that you want without having to go to the store. There's online learning, job skill development, content discovery, and also civic engagement, such as fundraising, social awareness, advertising for specific issues. And it can also result in employment, online employment. And so there is still a benefit to technology, but we have to rein in our usage, especially for our children, because we really don't want them to have that mentality, that they don't need to socialize. They can just spend all their time on the internet. Thankfully, I've noticed there's more of a movement for people to reduce their activity on social media or completely stop using social media. So it seems like it's catching up to people where they're realizing that it's not actually as good for us as we think it is. As I said, people using social media can make it hard to differentiate between reality and whatever is put online. The time spent on social media and can, depending on your experience, can lead to cyberbullying, social anxiety, and depression, as well as exposure to things that are not age appropriate, which makes me remember the other thing I was going to say. The exposure to people that are trying to take advantage of children, as well. I guess I kind of touched on that, but yeah, it can be dangerous for kids, especially if they're unnecessarily trusting or don't understand how to interpret what they're reading, seeing, whatever. I've also heard of kids basically saving or taking their parents' credit cards and just buying stuff. I think there's one girl that I saw recently that had spent over $600 or possibly more on her mom's credit card before the mom realized what she was doing, which is crazy. I don't know how you go that long without noticing it, but yeah, kids are getting addicted to brands. Kids are getting addicted to shopping online. I said earlier that kids are kind of being exposed to branding and like fancy things, such as Louis Vuitton and Prada and all those fun places that are wildly expensive, even though, fun fact, I think it was Coach, they found out that their bags to make them are like $46, but they sell them for hundreds sometimes. So they are making us pay way more than we should be. And yeah, so that's another aspect, spending money. And lastly, there's the aspect that social media is addicting and it gives people FOMO, like fear of missing out. Kids and adults are seeing what their friends are doing. They're seeing they go to places, they order this food, they buy stuff at the shop, and it makes people more likely to choose to do those things because they want to fit in and they want to connect with people on similar things. So it can lead to constantly checking social media, and the fear that you'll like miss out on something. And it also, kind of along the same lines, it encourages comparison as well, because people are putting images of their homes, their clothes, their bodies, their makeup, their whatever they're showing off. It can raise the risk of body image concerns, where kids are seeing these celebrities or social media influencers and they are trying to be just like them, even though for the most part, a lot of these people are not showing what their life is actually like. They're manufacturing a life that they show online to encourage people to buy those things. They found that most college girls who use Facebook at least 5 times a day are likely to link their self-worth to their looks, which basically means they, seeing all these people online, they are going to basically attach all of their feelings towards themselves based on how they look. And I definitely identify with that in a sense, because I remember in high school, it was either late high school or early college, I completely stopped wearing makeup and doing my hair because I realized that I was only doing it for other people and not for myself. And it got to the point where, like, if my appearance wasn't good enough, I'd actually like cry and be upset. So I imagine this kind of happens with other people as well, where they just are so unhappy with themselves because they're seeing all of these unrealistic bodies and lives. Because we forget that people can manufacture these images, can modify the images, can blur out acne, can make people look skinnier, can make people look taller, can affect your face. And we also have a lot of people that are using, what do you call it? Beauty and whatnot. Or sorry, what was I going to say? Social media sites. Okay, I don't remember exactly what I was going to say. But you have people being affected by the lives that they're seeing online, even though they're fake. So, yeah. There is a lot of reasons why somebody would want technology, but we have to be really cautious with allowing children to have access because one, their judgment of character as is not as good. They're also in a phase where they're kind of trying to impress people. They're trying to please people and make people kind of they're trying to attract people. They want to make friends through this. They want to create relationships with this, even though a lot of these friendships aren't actually that meaningful. Um, there's, I could probably talk about this in another episode, but our social lives are really shallow in comparison to what they used to because hanging out with people in person is not the same thing as talking to people online. Um, and it's pretty problematic that our kids no, that's not, but go downstairs for now. It is an environment that can be very dangerous for children, especially if they're not being supervised by their parents. So that's really the biggest takeaway, is parents need to be watching their kids. They need to be talking to them. They need to be have genuine conversations with them about cybersecurity and privacy concerns. They need to be taught that you don't send pictures of yourself to other people unless you know, like, are in a relationship with them, I guess. But even then, like, when they're that young, they really shouldn't be doing that kind of stuff. They're still too young for that. But yeah, being on top of what they're doing, and having parental controls on their phone, having access to their passwords and their knowledge of the websites that they're using, and they should charge the phones separately, and don't allow them to have it in their room at night. At my kids' school, they are a low to no tech school, so they ban the use of phones at all on campus. And they basically make it so the kids are learning with tangible things and not on technology because they're realizing that it hurts the psychology of children. Just one more fact that I'll throw out there. Social media, as I said, is linked to suicide. And sadly, suicide is actually the leading cause of death in children under 14. And in most cases, they rely on hanging. And this is something to keep in mind because a lot of kids are going to hide how they're feeling and they're going to be reliant enough on social media that they feel like they can't go to their parents about it. They might be more interested in impressing other people, or they might be completely shut down socially because of stuff that they're experiencing and see social media as something that it's making them feel bad because people are living the life that they want and they feel like they'll never get there. So it's super, super important for parents to, one, control their own habits. Kids watch us, kids copy us. If we're trying to have conversations with our kids and we are on the phone, they're just going to copy our behaviors. So it's really, really important for parents and teachers, honestly, but definitely more so parents, to be there for the kids and serve as an educational and a beneficial source of information, I should say. And again, talking to them about all of the different dangers that exist on the internet and how to identify them. Because the more these kids know, the safer they'll end up being because they'll be able to make better choices and judge whether or not things are safe. Also, just another throw in, make sure you hide your wallet Make sure they don't know where that is, where it's being stored, because I've heard many cases as well of kids stealing their parents' wallets just to buy stuff that they want online. So it's important as parents to keep them from giving away their money to the internet, and to basically identify which places are safe and which ones are not, and also have an environment where they're comfortable coming to you. A lot of kids will experience bullying or abuse and never say anything to anybody because they're either ashamed or they just feel like nobody cares. So yeah, it's really important for parents to be involved. And one last aspect is when you give your child their first phone. Um, in my opinion, I feel like people should wait until late middle school or early high school to get their phone, because that's really when you get to the point that um, they might be going off to do a sport or whatever. So you need to be able to contact them. Whereas when they're younger, most parents are walking their children to school or driving their child to school and then walking them onto the playground or whatever it may be, or just like dropping it off and then the teachers are supervising. So we really have to change the dynamic that we have and our children have with technology. So lastly, I wanted to end with a poem. I always love ending with a poem because it brings a little bit more of a lightness to a more serious topic. So this one is called Protect Your Capital. How can any artist, writer, or poet effectively express the immensity of terror, knowing, seeing what is coming, watching the blue screen of uncertainty envelop every facet of our nightscapes, dashing every colorful consumer plea for a world that was somehow better? Now we observe the masses march, all but in the right direction, led by the expensive manipulation set forth by the intelligent lot, using their systems to snatch us, using our societies to trap us. They are taking the country like a hen house for the fox. How can you shout to this void long enough to elicit one look when our attention is fried and we are only free to get by? When the rich can change the tide of a decade, when one person can change all of a century using merely hours of their lives, but billions of hours. We keep sitting, staring at their parasitic Rolodex, where 1,000 pretend friends are found to dish out online things and trends. How foolishly we waste time, mental health, long-term wealth, instead dedicating dying brain cells to our imaginary personas online, feeding all manner of personal hell. There is no privacy. Your life's on file. They've had our socials for a while, and we still trust our existence to strangers in blank rooms, to strangers with blank faces, to blank out our mind's subsistence. To them, you're a number, serving the system as a resource to be collected, for with our clicks, they're elected. But you remain marooned, rejected, consumed, on a ledge with no ladder, poisoned by the digital adder, treading water in a world drowned under debt and power, where the lives of the bidders are all that can matter. To catch up in the match, we must hawk and pray, paying with dollars and times, paying with criminal rhyme. We purge our pockets, cashing in our finite chips, just for a stake in the games of the rich. Now we stare at shriveled palms. Did we get our wish? Do we get the things checked off our lists? Are we comfortable? Are we happy? Pay attention, because they are. Gradually, they raise our rent to buy our land. They taint our foods and send us spam. We are the product. We are the keep. They even infiltrated sleep, ensuring we will have no peace. And as they sit tight and watch us fight, they know full well of their might, using monopoly, lawfully, awfully. We must not stop. We must not give in to bots. We must refuse to be looted. We must refuse to be muted. Vote with your wallets. Refuse to be silent. Protect your opinions and thoughts. Don't let your beliefs be commuted. Standing to fight is something we ought. We must come together. We must walk together. We must find ourselves reliant on passive comfort and increasingly divided. We must aim to reunite us. For in unison, we will be audible, sending the message that we are unstoppable. For in union, in unison, we can reclaim our sovereignty. In unison, anything is possible. We must choose. Do we fight or do we exist blithely? Choose wisely. So, that was my poem talking about the influence of social media and the internet on us and the impacts that they have on people. I hope you learned a lot from this episode. I really enjoy talking about this topic because of how much it impacts everybody around us. And I've always been more of a low-tech person, even though I do kind of have an addiction to YouTube. But it's really, really important for us to understand how social media affects us, because especially for parents, it's going to be passed down to them. They're going to copy us. And so we kind of have to rein in our own negative habits to make sure that we help our future generations develop good habits. So overall, make sure that if you have kids that are using the internet, make sure you know what sites they're using. Make sure you have their passwords. Make sure you're talking to them about things that are going on. And if you notice a change in their behavior, confront them, talk to them. A lot of kids will not tell you if they're self-harming, if they're trying to off themselves. And so it's really important for parents to stay on top of their children and be aware of the things that they're going through. As for adults, make sure that you are paying attention to the sites you're buying from. I always will Google shops and businesses before I pay for whatever services or objects, because there's so many sites nowadays that seem like legitimate sources, but really they're drop shippers or they're basically scams, low quality stuff. All sorts of reasons why it wouldn't actually be beneficial for you to buy. So be aware of the people that you're supporting and try to put your money in places where they actually value us and are not as, they're not trying to manipulate us or take advantage of us. And then lastly, take care of your mental health. If the internet is affecting you, step away for a while. Give yourself a break. We don't need to be on the internet 24/7. We don't need to be on social media 24/7. People don't need to know exactly what we're doing all the time. So, yeah, it's important to be safe on the internet. And as I said, I hope this is beneficial for you. I hope you learned a lot, got you to think. And I have a child here. And I will be back on Friday. He has a new hat now, I guess. I'll see you Friday, and then I will be back next week with another episode, either on science or psychology. So I hope to see you there. Again, if you guys ever have any topics that you want to learn about, feel free to comment on the video. Let us know. I always love talking about things that people are interested in, answering questions. So feel free to reach out if you have anything that you'd like us to talk about. Other than that, I hope you guys have a fantastic Wednesday. We're almost through the week. We're almost at Friday. We're towards the end of Wednesday, so 2 more days. But I appreciate you guys for watching. Thank you, Chef, for showing up. Always nice to see you in the chat. And yeah, thank you guys, and good night.
Own attitude towards the possibilities of peace, towards the Soviet Union, towards the course of the Cold War.
Our muscle. It was a way of making me feel that they were a part of me.
You see it on the bridge. Wait, how did they get it? If the government had to change the screw in the bridge, they had to shut it down. They got state troopers out there. They got lanes closed. They got their own strange machines. How did they get up there?